guys, and welcome to your weekly horoscope for Monday the 8th of June going through until Sunday the 14th of June. It's really nice to be with you. I wasn't here for last week's horoscope. I wasn't feeling well. It's really nice to be back. If you have got in touch with me via the email, I will be back in touch with you next week. So thank you so much for your patience. But I am feeling better now, so I'm going to get on top of things. With this weekly horoscope, I'm going to give you a breakdown of what's happening this week. I've had a look at each day, what the planets are doing up in the sky and how that's going to affect all of us here on planet Earth. These readings are for all signs of the zodiac, everyone who watches. The summary or the main kind of gist that I got from the week is it's not the best week for love and to make great changes in love. If you are going to make changes, let them be practical and ideally in the area of work. There's also very little mention of Mercury this week. So communication is done much more through feeling, and remember that Venus, the planet of love and beauty, is in retrograde until the 25th of June. So there's the potential to kind of make mistakes by not thinking things through and just acting on kind of unchecked, truths that haven't been fact checked. So let's have a look at the week. Monday, the 8th of June, we've got the moon in Capricorn. So you're focused and comfortable on work. What are my goals? What am I using my time doing? It sits on top of Pluto, planet of transformation, death, rebirth, the phoenix rising from the ashes in Capricorn. So I work, therefore I transform, I create. And Jupiter in Capricorn, the lucky planet. Jupiter was Zeus in Greek mythology, so the lightning god, the father of the sky. Expansion, growth, power. And the moon also sextiles Neptune, Poseidon, the god of the seas, in Pisces. So all the outer planets, or well, the first three of the outer planets, no, we've also got Saturn and Pluto, but three of them are being touched by this moon in Capricorn, and they're all kind of like the gods. They're outer planets. They're not inner planets like Mars, Mercury, and Venus. So they have a bigger effect and they move much more slowly. But with them all being in Capricorn and then Pisces, it's really work on your hopes and dreams and focus on what you can actually do in a practical sense. So on Monday, use that. Use the clarity and focus you get via this sense of productiveness and channel it into your work. You're supremely practical and we'll see everything in black and white. So if you have an idea, okay, we're going to need 2 cars. It will take 5.8 minutes to get to the other location and then off we go. You really think about how can I actually get things done. So if you struggle with that, if you have these great ideas, but then you're like, I can't pick up the phone, use that today on Monday to actually get the things done that you want to get done. So dream things up to be handled on Monday. Yeah, also, if you're someone who has their own ideas or you're creative, you're able to actually insert yourself into any work situation that you're in or whatever you feel drawn to. You have the confidence to say, I have as much right to assert myself and to be here as everyone else. I work hard, I am, therefore, no problem. I can absolutely put my stamp on this and work and be an equal in the sense of work. So if you find that other people, you're working and other people become involved and they're on the same wavelength as you, then that's wonderful in a working sense. If it becomes romantic again, then it's not particularly helpful because the focus is singular. Either you're focused on work or love or family on Monday. It's really, you don't have much patience for multitasking. And ideally, if you put work at the top of your priority list, you're putting something that you can actually thrive with. So you'll enjoy that. Tuesday the 9th of June, the moon moves into Aquarius at 55 minutes past midnight. Now you're interested in being of service, the greater good, helping other people, making a contribution. The moon squares Uranus and Taurus, so there's friction with the chaos in the world and your sense of, I want to create order here and I want to give something back. It also trines Venus in Gemini, so the love planet in retrograde, things coming through weirdly, you misreading things and taking the tone incorrectly. The moon also squares Chiron in Aries. So you have these ideas. You know when you lie in bed for like 3 or 4 hours at night and you can't sleep, and you have all these wonderful creative ideas, and you're like, yes, in the morning when I do this, I'm going to, and you create these huge creative, you have this emotional experience and you want to channel that into the things that you can then do. But when you wake up, you're so exhausted by the whole thinking about things that you don't do anything practically. That's not going to happen to you on Monday. On Tuesday, make sure that you don't get into that kind of mode by letting the Aquarius moon and Chiron in Aries gallop you down a path you don't want to be on. Again, it's not ideal for romantic relationships, but particularly on Tuesday, if someone is going to seem a certain way and then be completely false and be another way, that is going to come to light very quickly on Tuesday. Because the balance is all wrong, communication is difficult, and there's huge room to get hurt emotionally, to misread something or someone. Make sure that you don't take Tuesday too seriously. Otherwise you can pull your hair out over some of the communicative issues you're likely to have. Focus on, depending on your circumstances, either your work or if you have free time, what you're going to do in a practical way. On Wednesday, the 10th of June, the moon in Aquarius, so still focused on ideas, balance, being of service to other people, getting rid of the negative, replacing it with positivity, humanitarianism. That forms a trine with the planet of love and beauty. Venus, which is in retrograde, so it looks like it's going backwards, and that's in the sign of the communicator Gemini. So on Wednesday, you'll have a strong desire to find new ways of articulating your love for other people and other places and things. You're interested in being there for people as well. So it's easy for you to miscommunicate or to get the balance wrong. Maybe you're not saying enough, or maybe you're hogging the whole conversation. Or you take someone's tone in an incorrect way and you think it's an insult when they're actually complimenting you. And there's also a weird, strange sense of being taken for granted. So you want to give to people, but then as soon as you give something, you feel like, are they taking this in the wrong way? And it becomes very strange, and miscommunication is not guaranteed, but it's very, very likely. If you're working with other people, make sure you get contracts, agreements, all of that stuff in writing. And ideally, if you're launching things, make sure you dot all the I's and cross the T's and all of those things. But if you possibly can, move it to later on in the week. It's not the best time to launch a new business, a new relationship, anything like that. Thursday, the 11th of June, the moon goes into Pisces at 9:33 in the morning. The moon in Pisces is now in a water sign, so the way you feel is connected to the spiritual, to what's going on inside of you. The Pisces moon squares Venus in Gemini, so there's friction between the love planet in retrograde in Gemini and the moon. The sun in Gemini, so the communication sign, fully lit up by the sun here. The sun is the center of our solar system, it's the most important thing. And with that in Gemini, happy birthday Geminis, there's a huge desire to go out, do things, be fun, see different sides to people, and do all of the socializing. It's really kind of complex, and a lot of that has been cut away at the moment. I read something recently where, oh yeah, a lot of people love this lockdown. The people who struggle with romantic relationships, they haven't been able to think about romance, so it's been really nice for them. And the kids who don't want to go outside and play, they've stayed in and played PlayStation, all of that stuff. Yes, great, but it's not been something enjoyable for most people. In fact, I think most people are exhausted by the amount of pressure, because it's like, okay, no haircut, no food, no nothing, and go on, keep working, bills. And there's been, and that's not even the fear of the actual illness. And then when things go back, the fear about the financial hit that's possibly on the horizon. And I think we've got about 2 more weeks of lockdown here in the UK, where certain drive-thrus and things have opened. It's next week, certain churches are opening for specific religious services. It's gradual, but by the 14th, the main severe chunk of the lockdown here by Sunday, I think, will be eased a bit. If you are someone who is finding lots of joy and you find it easy, then that's great, because what I mean by Venus in Gemini being in retrograde and all of those things, the avenues for finding joy in the world have been reduced. And here, obviously we all want to do that. We all want to find new sources of joy and new people to communicate with. But because Venus is in Gemini, it makes it seem like it's over, and it isn't. So it's like the fear of, okay, when I go back to work, I'm afraid of the money. But then the fear actually wears you down to the point where you can't get back to work. Or when you get back to work, it's not the money that gets you, it's the second wave of the illness or whatever it is. You don't have the control of that. And that in itself is exhausting for a lot of people. The Sun in Gemini also sextiles Chiron in Aries. So in terms of your feelings and your emotions being intuitive, psychic, spiritual, I feel all of us are spiritual, all of us are psychic, like all of us can run. Some of us are better at it than others. If you're someone who's trying to have a sort of psychic or spiritual breakthrough, or if you feel disconnected from your feelings and you want to get back in touch with them, or you want to get a guidance and message from your ascended masters, your guides, whatever, then it's a great day to have that kind of breakthrough, because getting intuitive information, that's easy. Forming intense new relationships is also something that you're going to find easy. But you may be unpleasantly surprised by what you actually get. In the sense of, oh, big word is coming up. Something that seems to have value, or someone who seems to have a lot of value and then doesn't. It's this mirage of someone who seems like the ideal partner, and then you get together with them, you start talking to them, and you're like, oh, this really isn't the right partner. So save yourself that pain of running into a wall, thinking, yay, this is the end of the rainbow. It isn't. Also, you may be surprised by what you overhear today through other people talking, or through information coming in. Make sure you're able to deal with info and you're practical and you're doing those kind of things, rather than being completely absorbed by romantic concerns. Thursday is really a day where you should be switched in, dealing with the info. And if you want that personal breakthrough, it's the day to have it. If you are already in touch with your feelings, listen to what they tell you. And then again, it's a really good day to have a work breakthrough. On Friday, the 12th of June, the moon in Pisces sits on top of Neptune in Pisces, Neptune being the water planet of dreams and intuition. It also sits on Mars in Pisces. Mars is the planet of the masculine, so drive and building and destruction and aggression and infinite ego. Yeah, Mars doesn't like being in Pisces, because Mars in Pisces has to deal with itself. It's spiritual, it's kind of passive. It just says, okay, I'm here listening to the self, and it's like, wow, I just stomp and complain, and that's kind of annoying, and I demand all my happiness to be served to me by other people. That's no good. So Mars in Pisces can be really frustrating in the sense of, wow, my own personality is like, oh, I don't like that. And when you get those things, the only thing you can do is learn to accept it or try and change it. Yeah, what is it? The serenity prayer. Accept the things you cannot change, courage to change the things you can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Because yeah, if you can change something, great. If you can't, you have to accept it, because you live with it and you have to accept it. So Mars in Pisces gives you that kind of revelation of frustrated and I have to sit with these things rather than being able to bulldoze and to channel my energy into something. It's just floating around. So there could be frustration here. The Pisces moon also forms a trine with Mercury in Cancer, so emotional communication with the communication planet in a water sign. You feel everything. So the intuitives, really, really amazing week because you can really ask questions and get immediate information. The moon also squares the sun in Gemini. So it's about feeling and talking and thinking and finding new doorways. You're going to find it really, really useful on Friday to look inward because you'll become aware of an inner strength that you didn't know you had. So rather than having Mars, the irritant, doing nothing there, driving up the wall, you find how you can use that energy in a productive way to overcome something emotionally or anything that's demanded of you in life. It's going to help you to avoid or reduce unpleasant interactions that you have with other people and things by not putting yourself in those situations without an exit strategy. And if you don't find a way of being practical on this day or using your, because there's a lot of energy and there's a lot of let's move forward with our feelings. There's a huge drive to move forward. It's like the tide is coming in. If you don't find anything work-wise, then make sure you do a vision board, which is really simple. Just the way I do them is I usually get a couple of magazines and I cut out the things that are really, either they represent materialistically what it is you want. So a good health, a boyfriend, a house, a tan, a car, whatever you want. And then also things that represent things to you spiritually, like love. You'll get a symbol of a heart, or abundance. You get a cornucopia of wealth showering you. They're really helpful because you're able to take all that emotional stuff and fling it onto the page, and it's there, and it has this huge emotional charge, and anything that's that charge and that you then look at every day afterwards, you will manifest into reality. On Saturday the 13th, the moon goes into Aries at 9:04 in the evening, so that's good because now all of this emotional stuff has an actual outlet. The Aries moon sextiles Saturn in Aquarius. So it's how can I move forward, not to please myself, but being responsible, and how can I do it for other people? So again, there's a sense of where's the joy here? Everything is responsible and it's not particularly fulfilling in your personal relationships, in your romantic relationships. Work, great, but also communication-wise, you can make personal kind of breakthroughs, but it's not the best time to make the kind of connections that you would usually make in the summer if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. Because of the limitations that have been placed on us in terms of the lockdown and in terms of the astrology here, which is saying you're going to have to be considerate. You can't just think about yourself. So the frustration of the day before can build up, and it can really come to a breaking point on Saturday. There is a lack of clarity, unlike Monday. There's distrust, and now there's a sense of fear. Ideally, use these feelings to make changes in your life. Don't take them out on other people, places, or things where you're just wasting your time. So on Friday, make a vision board. On Saturday, and continue to do that, or actually start writing down the steps for what it is you want to change and do it. And if you're, again, in social situations where you have to make nice and smile and you're really not feeling it, then make sure you have an exit plan in place, that you don't go to a dinner party in the countryside somewhere 3 hours out, you get a lift from your friend and you're sick of it after 15 minutes and you don't have a way to get out of there, you're stuck. Don't do that. Or go to a job interview and put all of your life's hopes and dreams and desires on this one interview and put all this pressure on it, and then you don't get it and you completely fall apart and you're just smithereens. No. What I think is really good on Saturday is if you do have any difficulties like that, you'll immediately feel like you've tuned into the universal kind of radio of other people. Because a lot of other people are going to be on that frequency changing something over the weekend. Make sure it's positive and productive rather than destructive of someone else's way of seeing things. Personal conflict, not so much. It's about building. Sometimes it's useful to take anger and say, no, enough, I'm angry and I need this anger to tell you how, you're wrong. Other times, that's not helpful because you can never actually resolve a conflict or anything. Sometimes it's useful to take that, I feel restless, frustrated, angry, I wish I could smash something. To take that and to say, okay, how can I use this and turn it around and actually be an alchemist here and create something valuable and permanent that reflects me. And if you're able to get to that place on Saturday, that's ideal. Sunday the 14th of June, the Aries moon conjunct Chiron in Aries. So now it's all systems go, I want to move forward, but it's also, if I get hurt, it's just part of it and I almost expect to get hurt. It sextiles Venus in Gemini, love planet in retrograde, so I might be loving all the wrong things here. And it squares Mercury in Cancer, so there's friction with how you think and feel. So all of that is very complex, and you'd imagine that it makes things even worse, but because things have been so excessive emotionally on Friday and Saturday, I really think that Sunday gives you a lot of clarity and your feelings and thoughts kind of align, so you're actually able to make positive changes and you're able to reconcile the two different truths of things. Like earlier in the week, if you liked someone and they're like, and then after 10 minutes you're like, oh my god, you're just so negative and that was all fake. Then it's like, oh, how do I don't like this, how am I going to move forward with this person? On Sunday you'll be able to say, okay, just because they aren't what I expected, I can now shift my perspective and see how I'm going to work with this and whether it will work or not. You're able to tolerate things that contradict each other and that are present at the same time. Whereas during the week, that kind of thing will just be too confusing and it will irritate you. The key being using that irritation for positive things. But on Sunday, you're able to have several things on your grid and you're able to multitask again and do several things at once. And a lot of the external pressure is going to be lifted. So you can kind of diversify in your personal interests and get that joy back. Great. Yeah, so let's see what happens here on Sunday the 14th in terms of changes to our lockdown rules. So I hope that gives you an idea of the week to come and what to focus on what particular days. It's not the most earth-shattering of all the weeks, but I really think it's a good week for people who felt pressured and flattened to kind of take a breath and recharge their batteries, and also to have a personal insight and to regain that spark of connection with the self if that's gone, or the imaginative world, or the light at the end of the tunnel, or the most amazing things that are yet to come. If that has seemed out of reach or forget it, then it's time to get in touch with that again in the circumstances you're in, regardless of what they may be, because it's the energy is now shifting. So it is a big week, and fundamentally the energy is shifting to we're moving forwards again instead of stuck still. Because here on Sunday you're able to move forward again, even if it is scary or if it could potentially hurt you. You're willing to face that. You're brave. Good stuff. So that's what I get. Have a lovely week. If you'd like a personal reading with me, please get in touch via my website, gregoryscott.com. If you like this video, hit subscribe, share it online. Thanks for joining me, and I'll speak to you next week.